I bought a box of science stuff at auction. It contains unexpected medical specimens of a weird doctor dating back nearly a century. What do? In short, I bought a box of assorted science stuff at an auction, remotely. So I hadn't inspected it in person and the photos were from a distance, so it wasn't obvious what it all was. Honestly, I was mostly excited about the rocks and minerals I could see in the picture. Having picked it up today, I've realized it must have been the personal collection of a doctor, because it includes quite a lot of bottles of various people's gallstones, labeled on the side with info about the patient, but no names, a piece of skin it says he took from a post-mortem, presumably without consent, and, worst of all, 2 fetuses, one terminated, one taken from unalived mother. They're old enough to be historical-ish, most dates in the 1940s, but obviously I am now accidentally in possession of human remains, I think, and have no idea what to do or who to call. Obviously I A, don't want them, and B, don't think the auction house should have sold them, and C, don't just want to throw them away. What do I do, please? Sorry for grim subject matter. 1 hour later, update, currently on phone with police non-emergency. Not going to lie, they sounded pretty baffled, and I've been on hold several times, but explained about the bits of people in there, an appendix, the piece of skin, the gallstones, someone's tapeworm, the fetuses, etc., and they're taking notes and will tell me what to do next. 11 minutes later, they said they might come out and take the box, but then they rang back and asked me to email some photos. I hope they don't want photos of all the bottles of gallstones individually because there are tons. This guy liked his gallstones. 25 minutes later, emailed photos. They are coming round at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Would not confirm whether they will take the grim stuff. I hope they do because I really do not want to deal with it, especially since some of it looks like it's leaking. 5 minutes later, the worst part of all of this is that I only bought it to get some cool rocks, and the rocks aren't even cool as it turns out. Update post, after a lot of hold please, and there was an appendix in there? And human fetuses? And how was this box described? And how much did you pay for this? The police made an appointment to come round and see the box at 4 p.m. today. They have just left and thankfully took all the human samples with them. This is a huge relief to me, as I didn't want it and also didn't want the responsibility for disposing of it properly. The police were pretty surprised by the call, apparently, but they've spoken to the Human Tissue Authority, who are going to help them dispose of it all properly. Apparently it shouldn't have been sold without the auction house having the appropriate license, so they're going to speak to them, and it will be recorded as a crime, but no one's being punished or anything. Apparently, I'm not being recorded as the criminal or the victim, just a connected person. Big thanks to the people who took the time to let me know that the preserving fluid in the jars was probably formalin, which is carcinogenic. Unfortunately, I was not wearing gloves, but I did scrub my hands afterwards, thankfully. At least one of the jars had leaked quite badly. The appendix had no liquid left and you could see the lid of one of the other jars was almost eaten through as well, so I wish I'd been more careful, but at least I know now. And someone's informing the auction house too, as they obviously handled it also. I did ask if the family of the older fetus could be traced, because although the fetus would be in their 70s now if they'd lived, it says on the label that the mother was unalived, so she hadn't given consent for her baby to be removed and put in a jar forever, and I thought there might be a family out there somewhere who'd like to lay her unborn child to rest, perhaps with her. The police weren't too confident of finding out whose fetus it was because there's not much info on the label, no patient names or anything, but they said they would try. The other fetus was from intermination, so although I suspect again the mother didn't consent to it being put in a jar and eventually sold to this random woman, at least I guess she probably didn't want it back, and I suspect her family wouldn't even have known she had the termination, so not much reason to try to trace that one. The police asked if I'd like to be updated on what happens to the samples, to which I've said yes. I would particularly like to know that the 2 fetuses are put to rest somehow and don't end up as attractions on someone's Instagram or sold for profit. The other stuff might have some educational use maybe, I don't know. I don't mind if that ends up in a museum or something if it's helpful to future med students. I would never have bought it had I known the horror that is I've just handled the stranger's appendix in a jar from the 1940s and the liquid is leaking. Also it causes cancer. What a Monday that was.